Welcome to Walking in Their Shoes. Welcome to another episode of Walking in Their Shoes, a podcast where we invite entrepreneurs and recognized professionals to step into their customers' shoes. In these discussions, we invite our guests to share their ongoing efforts to better understand their customers' needs and the tools they employ to attain excellence in customer service. Both professionally and personally, I'm a firm believer of constant growth and learning. And in business, this attitude should always start by its leader, its founder. Only through this approach, a business can attain excellence. This is why, in Walking in Their Shoes, we also discover the core values and aspirations of our guests that have been instrumental in shaping the person they are today, and also how do they instill these values in their organization to provide the best customer experience. In a transformative period where more and more businesses are shifting gears to put clients at the center of their efforts, it is very interesting to hear from our guests how are they reinventing their practices to embrace this customer centricity in order to kind of understand and anticipate their customers' needs and provide a more personalized experience. Today, I am thrilled to be chatting with Rami Shamaa, founder of MintStay, a luxury vacation rental company that leverages technology to offer top-notch experiences in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. With nearly 100 properties under management, MintStay is dedicated to providing exceptional service to clients and maximizing returns for property owners. Let me tell you a bit about Rami. Rami's journey started in Dubai in 2005 when he joined Booz Allen Hamilton, a management consulting firm. During his corporate years, he advised clients on several strategic projects in Saudi Arabia and the UAE, making valuable contributions to renowned companies like General Electric, EFG Hermes Private Equity, and Abrash Capital. His expertise involved driving business development activities, executing private equity investments, and accelerating growth in the MENA region. In 2015, after living in Dubai for over a decade, Rami identified an opportunity in the city's hospitality sector. He recognized the potential to blend the premium service and comfort of a hotel with the privacy and comfort of a home. This led him to establish Maison Privée, a hospitality company specializing in vacation and corporate rentals in Dubai. Maison Privée experienced a rapid growth under Rami's leadership, ultimately leading to its sale last year. Notably, Rami was awarded the 10-year UAE Golden Visa, recognizing his entrepreneurial efforts. Motivated by the ongoing needs of the UAE's hospitality industry, Rami founded MintStay to advise property owners on delivering exceptional customer experiences and maximizing revenues. On a personal level, Rami loves traveling, running, and reading about politics and history. He defines himself as an active person that enjoys being busy and productive. Welcome to Walking in Their Shoes, Rami. How are you?
How are you, Miriam? Thank you very much for hosting me today. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Very glad to have you. Even though we're a lot of kilometers away, it's good, really good to connect with such an entrepreneur and just discover a bit more what's behind a name. So, Rami, just to give a bit of context, you were born in Cairo, Egypt, but you have lived in North America, in Europe, and as I said, since 2005, Dubai is home for you. So you wore the employee hat, let's say, until 2014, climbing the ladder of multinational companies across, as we said, business development, private equity, and M&A. Then, out of the blue, you jump to the entrepreneurship kind of adventure and dive into the hospitality industry. So I'm very curious to start this conversation understanding if did it occur to you, before that you would kind of become an entrepreneur? And also, I'm wondering if these international upbringing and early life experiences played a role in your, in your move.
Definitely. So basically, I would like to say that entrepreneurship has been always on my mind since I was a very young person. And even when I was in high school, I used to do a lot of trading activities like selling things to my colleagues or to the friend of my parents. So it was always a matter of time when I'm going to start, having my own business. But this was something that was very clear that I had in my mind always. And just that when I first arrived in Dubai, I had a number of good job opportunities that it was very difficult to leave them until I felt at a certain point of time that I got my saturation from the corporate world. And then now it's a bit late to start. It was already delayed a lot to start what I always wanted to do. And definitely I jumped on the first opportunity. I spent some time trying to see what can I do as an entrepreneur and looking into the environment around me, what are the opportunities in Dubai, what I like as well. For example, and I found that the opportunity of hospitality is a very interesting and compelling story for a number of reasons. The first reason is that Dubai is a place that is all about tourism, is all about services. The whole country, so the whole city and the whole country, the UAE, is geared toward promoting tourism, and they do a great effort in this. So these were a lot of enablers in this. And the other point was that this was an industry that I was very much interested in. I like a lot real estate, and I like a lot hospitality. I like to travel. I like to stay in hotels. I like to meet people, and I like to interact with them. And I felt that all of this was coming together to be in the right industry and the right place.
Absolutely. And what about your upbringing? Because as I said, you were born in Cairo, but then you went from a very early age, you went all over the world, like traveling and living. So did any of those experiences of your childhood, for example, influence the fact that, as you said, you like to trade since you were very little, you like to sell things like maybe cards or something, just to, that entrepreneurial mindset was already within you. But is there any experiences through your family members or through some of the countries that you lived in that impact the fact that you became an entrepreneur?
No, I wouldn't say this, but I would just say that this was like an interest and I had or an inclination that I had since I was very young, that I always wanted, to have my own business. And of course, definitely the fact that I was traveling a lot, that I lived, for example, in the US at an early age on my own, or traveling a lot of time. So you were very much affected with the hospitality and tourism and all the things that are happening there. Whenever you travel, you think, okay, how this can be done better? What other, option, how you improve the things, how do you improve the services you offer? So all of this definitely has been always on my mind.
We could talk, because you've been an entrepreneur, as I said, already for almost a decade, talking about Mintstay. So you founded Maison Privée, so came to life in 2016. And let's say that was your baby, your first business as an entrepreneur. I would like you to tell us about the moment that you decide to kind of sell Maison Privée, which is, as I said, it happened last year, and transitioned to Mintstay. So was Mintstay concept already kind of planted when you decided to sell Maison Privée? And were those two ventures incompatible to juggle?
No, I mean, definitely, to be honest with you, I mean, the two ventures are more or less the continuation of the same story. It's just that was the first one. There was a good opportunity to sell the business at the right time, at the right price. And so it happened. Then after this, I took a small break. Then I decided actually that I still like this business and I want to be back in the business, but doing something even better, being focused more on, let's say, a 2.0 of version of the previous version, offering a better service, or a more luxury product. And this is why I decided after a few months, to return back to the same industry and do something even better than what I have done before.
So Mintstay was crafted to, as you just said, to assist luxury property owners in Dubai and Abu Dhabi to ensure that their guests have the best stay, the best possible experience. So how would you define what a positive customer experience is for you in your business?
I would say that since we are selling a service, so a positive customer experience is that a guest, for example, who is extremely happy with his experience in terms of the service that was being offered, the interaction with the people, the quality of the place he was in. And this would be translated into a big smile when he's leaving, or a big thank you, or, for example, writing to us a review that is out of his way. So, for example, a lot of people will write you a review after they leave the apartment, but most of the time, this is like the standard review that is being written in 1 second, and even if they give you the high score. But when you see a review and someone really spent 10, 15 minutes on it, writing a long review, describing everything in it, this is really would be the ultimate satisfaction, that you really would know that this person, because they really enjoyed their experience, they give it the time, to write something good about their experience. This is definitely what would define that we are successful in making this guest happy.
Mm-hmm. Touching the luxury segment, it's not easy because the expectations sometimes are quite higher. When you charge more, the expectations usually are more. So tell us also a bit the fact that Dubai is a very, very renowned destination for international tourists. So I guess you have clients from all over the world. Do you see that what is a positive experience for a client from the Middle East maybe is different, or the expectations that a client from the Middle East are different than the ones from an American client or a South African client or a European client?
Generally speaking, the expectation of a good quality or a luxury service is kind of universal among people, especially that you would have that you have a certain segment, if you are targeting the luxury segment, you will have a certain segment with certain educational level, with certain exposure, regardless of their background or the country they come in, that they all share more or less the same values. Of course, there are some variation between people of different culture and different nationalities based, on, let's say, maybe their privacy level, their expectation in certain things. But I would say these are a bit minor. But there's a common theme among everybody that they are all looking, for great experience. They are looking for attention from us. They are looking also for the human factor in this. And this is what we always try to do with our service, that it's not, although we try to leverage technology as much as we can, but it's not a business that is only technology, only relying solely on technology, where people will go open the door with, a smart lock box and don't meet anybody. Definitely, there is communication between us and our guests throughout the entire process, from the time they book the apartment till or the villa, then before their arrival, then on their arrival, then when they are there, and then on their checkout.
Actually, we spoke with some of the entrepreneurs we had in the podcast before, that no matter in which segment or which industry you are, people like doing business with people. So even though, yes, true that, as you said, technology allows us to automate a lot of processes that were like before, they were a bit longer, maybe technology just eased those processes. But people like to see people and interact with people, because these are these human connections are what really makes a difference in a stay. Like the villa, we were actually speaking with an entrepreneur, you can stay in a 300 square meter villa in Dubai, but if that human touch, the chef that comes to prepare your breakfast every morning, or the housekeeper that is going to clean your villa every day, those human interactions can really make a lasting impact in that stay, besides the luxury villa that you're going to stay. So what would you say that are some of the key factors that impact on a customer experience and bring that experience to another level?
Sure. As you rightly touch upon it right now, there are two main things in this. There is first the product itself, which is the quality of the product, like, for example, the apartment or the villa itself, how clean they are, how the furniture is nice, how there is attention to all the small details, like flowers, maybe a gift when they arrive, the view, all of these things. And this is the product itself. And then there is the other side, which is the human part of it, the service you're offering, how you're communicating with them. how you are checking that they are enjoying their stay, how you are making sure that whenever they ask you anything, you always bring it to them, or you reply to the request on time and within the quality they are looking for. So I would say that these are the two main things that would define it: is you need to have a good product, and at the same time, this need complemented by the service itself. One of the two will not work, or will not make the experience ideal. If you're not offering a good product, but you're trying to compensate this with a better service, there's always something missing. And if you have a great product, but you're not offering the service for it, people as well, they will not be happy. So I think the two have to go together.
And you're right. I guess that also in the society in general, we're getting used to get like immediate responses. So our expectations of getting things done like and solved immediately are increasing. In that same line, like when you're paying such a price for a villa or for a luxury apartment in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, when you ask for something, you expect that things will get done quick and in a timely manner. So I would say that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but time efficiency is something that it's crucial for your guests because they value the time response and how you react to their requests in a timely manner, but also to feel special. So kind of, would you say that kind of personalization, you say, like the flowers need to be there and everything, but this is all like, I'm not going to say transactional. This is nice to have, but this will not make the huge difference that service can make, right?
Definitely. I mean, because you are dealing with human being, and at the end of the day, human being wants you to give them attention as well. Wants you to feel that they want to feel that you care about them. There is an empathy, for example. And to be honest with you, Miriam, this is not only for luxury service. This is for anybody who paid you anything, because even if they got it on a promotion, for example, and at a very cheap price, I think we as human beings, whenever people pay for something, they always feel that they deserve the right attention for it, regardless of the price, whether it was expensive or not expensive. Being in the service industry, we anticipate this, and we always try, to give our guests the experience they want, regardless of how much they paid.
In that same line, how do you work to better understand what are your customers' needs and expectations?
Of course, definitely. So, I mean, one of the first things that you need to do is first you need to know who the customers who are coming. You need to do your homework. So you need to, for example, whenever they start the conversation with you, it's very easy from the beginning to understand what is their style or what they want, or what is their personality. Then when they send you their information, you can get some information about their background. For example, are they coming alone? Are they coming as a family? So all of these things help a lot, to build the profile for these guests. And generally speaking, we do have a briefing about our guests, the same as in hotels, where we can discuss the guests that are coming, what is the profile, what they are looking for, how we can make them happy. And then of course, on top of this, the requests that they have. And I think what is very important as well is not only to wait for them to give you their own requests, but is to probe them, to ask them questions, to know what they want, and to anticipate what they could be wanting. So it's not that you are a listener to the requests, but actually you should be an active person who ask them specific questions to let them tell you what they want, so that you can offer them the service.
You just said a key word, which is anticipate. And sometimes with some of these questions, like pre-stay questions that you might ask your clients, you might be able to identify some needs that they haven't expressed necessarily, but you will know that it will really, if you go, an extra mile, you can just anticipate those needs and avoid possible complaints, or actually surprise them, create these memorable experiences that we're talking about. So tell me, or share with us a time that you kind of went above and beyond for a guest, and that, in order to provide a very memorable customer experience.
To be honest with you, I mean, it happened all the time, because our business is basically about guests, and we receive, I would say, 20, 30 different guests per day. So we always try to do this. But for example, just to give you an example, if, for example, we will have a family that is coming and they say that they have with them, let's say, their children or whatever, but they don't request anything for their children. We will go, for example, and organize for their children a certain event. So, for example, we will know, for example, that there is a nearby festival, for example, for kids. So then we will make sure, for example, that we book a place for them there. And then we will tell the parents. So examples like this, things like this where the guests are not requesting it from us, but we surprise them with it. Because really what I think, if you really want to go above and beyond, you have to surprise your guests. Positively surprise, of course, not negatively surprise. And you can take this as an example of so many examples that we try to do them. Maybe new weds coming as well, and we organize something small, a romantic dinner for them, or things like this. So there are a lot of these examples that we try to implement all the time.
Unfortunately, not all the clients leave totally satisfied, because sometimes things go wrong, unfortunately. So could you share with us a time where a client leave a bad feedback or a negative feedback, and how did you handle that situation?
From the beginning, of course, I mean, negative feedback will always happen and always come, because we are all human beings and there are always mistakes. And once they happen, I mean, you definitely need to respond to them very quickly. And you need also to speak with the guests themselves to try, to explain your part of the story and try to let's say recover this. But what is even more important is to try, to prevent this from happening from the beginning, because, I mean, it's in very rare cases where the guest will come and you don't think that they are not happy, and then after they leave, they surprise you with a bad review or a bad feedback. Very few people will do this, but most people, they will express their dissatisfaction from the beginning if there is something that, for example, there is an issue with it, and this is really when you have to interfere from the beginning and try to solve the problem as soon as possible. And even, let's say, one stage even before this is that, as I said before, about anticipation of certain problem. Like, just to give you an example, for example, now there are a lot of constructions happening in Dubai because there are a lot of activities in real estate, for example. So there are a lot of owners who are selling their properties and new buyers that are renovating the properties. So might have a great property where the guest is coming, but then overnight we discover the second day that the neighbor is starting to do some construction there, for example. Or we had another experience where the beach was closed because the master planner was doing some renovation to the beach. And with a lot of these things, and that our guests are coming, you need to prepare them for this, either by letting them know, for example, in the case that the beach is closed, to see whether if they still want to use only the pool or they want to be relocated. While in the cases of construction, basically, most probably nobody want to stay in a construction. So at this point of time, you need to find for them other options before they come. Rather than once they come, you tell them, okay, this is like from the neighbor, it's not under our control. So all of these things so definitely for bad experience, I would say there are 3 stages. First of all, try to anticipate them from the beginning to prevent them. Then if they happen, you try to solve them as soon as possible and rectify them as soon as possible. And if the guest does not tell you about them and you know about them after the fact, you definitely need to find a way to make it up for this guest.
To repair that relationship that maybe has been damaged, right? I agree with you. And actually, during my times in Dubai, like overnight, there was a new building coming up or there was a new construction. So I'm quite aware of the challenges that an upcoming city might create for this kind of luxury stays. And you said something that it's very, very, very relevant, and it's a really good takeaway. And it's the fact that knowing all this information in advance, you need to prepare the guest to anticipate possible complaints and also offer alternatives. This is something that I think it's key when it comes to, we always talk about customer experience, and a lot of businesses only focus on the on-site experience, which is great and it's important because that's when you can have those human connections, where you can create those human connections. But also, it's often forgotten, like the pre-stay and the post-stay, like pre-stay, preparing that guest, getting those preferences, like anticipating some of the client's needs or surprising them. It's as important as the actual stay of the guest in the villa or in the apartment in your case, no? So let's now go to feedback. So let's move to the post-stay. How do you gather feedback and how do you use that feedback to improve your services?
So the first step that we try to gather feedback is also very proactive, that we always make sure that our representatives are going to meet our guests either both throughout their stay and upon their checkout. And there is always a question about their stay, how they felt about it, and if they have any feedback or comments to us. So this, I would say, this is the informal way to do it. And then there is, of course, the formal way that a lot of our guests that comes through, let's say, Airbnb or Booking.com, they receive the reviews, the forms after this, which they need to fill. We take definitely very seriously all the comments that we get, whether the verbal one or the one that is written, about like what we need to improve, what could have went wrong, what was the expectation of these guests. And we gather them. And we have meetings around them, and we try to act immediately about them. Whether this has to do something with an issue in the apartment or the villa that need to be fixed immediately, or it has to do with a certain way we interacted with the guest with that they did not appreciate, for example.
In your experience, and now let's talk because you just mentioned your representatives. Let's just share with the audience that you have a team of 15 people in Mint Stay. So it would be interesting to understand in an environment where more and more businesses, are moving, as I said in the opening, are shifting and putting the customers at the center of their efforts, because it no longer matter how good your product is if the experience doesn't go with it. What are the skills or the abilities that you look into your team given that customer centricity environment that we're living in?
So it's very important for our team to be also very customer oriented. So we give them a lot of training on how things need to be done, but at the same time, give them a lot of space to use their own judgment. So it's very important that you have a team that has a sound judgment, because not everything can be written in SOPs. Not all situations can be answered in a robotic way. Not every situation can be answered through the policies and procedures. Every client is different, especially in the service industry. Every situation is different. And as we mentioned before, you need to act quickly. And we don't want, our team to come back to the leadership of the companies to ask them about every situation, but they need to act within their judgment. So it's very important when we select a team that we select people who are hard worker, definitely disciplined, that have very high emotional intelligence, and that have a good judgment and are proactive. They know how to deal with the guests themselves. And I think this is very, very important. And we try as well to tie up a big part of their incentive to these results. So, for example, some of the guest relations executive, they are going to get, let's say, the bonus based on the review they get from the guests. So the quality of the reviews they get, so that everybody is aligned. But definitely, this is not, this is not the only way to let them offer the best service. It has to come from themselves as well. As I mentioned, they should be people who definitely enjoy working with customers. They enjoy solving the problem of customers. They enjoy coming back with creative idea to solve any problem that the customers will face.
You just touched a key component, which is emotional intelligence when it comes to, the ultimate customer experience, because, and this is the reason why I called this podcast after, what is the emotional experience all about, which is, stepping into your customer's shoes, understanding how they might be feeling, where are they feeling, where are they coming from, the whole kind of scenario in order to provide the most personalized experiences to your clients. So to that extent, I think you just said, helping your teams to feel empowered, to take ownership in dealing with positive and negative client interactions. I think that's the ultimate, goal for any business. Just having that team that feels empowered to deal with any sort of situation and just judge in their own judgment, which I think is key. Around the emotional intelligence, what would you say, Rami, that are the strategies or practices that you implement in your organization? You talked about training. What are other activities that you do in your organization to promote and foster, emotional intelligence amongst your team?
I think by empowering them, by giving them the freedom to do mistakes and to use their own judgment, you are fostering into them their emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence, means how do you deal with people? How do you show empathy? How do you solve their problems? And if you are going to restrict people, you'll not help them to develop their emotional intelligence or reach the potential of the emotional intelligence. If they are afraid of doing mistakes, if they want only to stick, let's say, to the rules that you have given them. And just to give an example, assuming a guest who wants a refund, for example, or in a situation where the policy says that you cannot refund him or can refund him only 5%, let's say. But the staff, who is the person on the ground who is facing the situation, can see that the policy that we have does not work with this guest. Then he has to use his own judgment and also his own emotional intelligence. So if you are putting a lot of restrictions on them, you will not enable them to develop their emotional intelligence. But I think what is really important as well is to have a certain element of trust as well between you and your employee and your staff. So giving them the freedom to act based on how they see the situation, I think is a function of that there is a trust, that you know that this is not going to be abused. And at the same time, that you know that these people are well trained so that they know what they're doing.
So actually, you said something quite interesting, which is, I think, is a combination of giving them the trust, the tools, and the skills, the knowledge for them to provide the right service, but also, and at the same time, giving them the space to be themselves, because when you have a lot of knowledge and you're very well trained, but you feel restricted to behave a certain way, you lose that genuine touch. And sometimes you as an employee, you've been dealing with the client and facing the client, you can read that client better than anyone and know that 5% refund fee will not work for this client, that maybe instead of a 5% refund, he will be much happier saying, okay, on your next day, just give us another chance, just come back and we'll treat you for 2 out of the 5 days that you will stay with us. Like things like this that only employees and people that are client facing are able to read if they have the skills and the training and the space again, to go out of their way to make that client happy. As we said in the beginning, you have now around 100 properties under management, which is a lot for a 15 people team. I would love to understand, how do you work to provide a consistent experience throughout all your properties in Dubai and Abu Dhabi? And how do you make that consistency work in your team?
Definitely the consistency starts with having a certain standards for all the apartment. And this standard starts when you're onboarding an apartment, or even when you are choosing the apartment. We don't accept all, or we don't take all the opportunities that come to us. So, for example, whenever we receive an apartment or a potential lead for an apartment, we always make sure that the apartment first fit within our standards in terms of the location, in terms of the view, and in terms of how it's furnished, in terms of the quality of the building. So this is the first part. Then when you are doing the onboarding of the apartment, there is a certain period where you need to make sure that everything is perfect in the apartment, that you're putting all the right things you need to put, like even the small details about the Wi-Fi stickers, the directions, the rules, the regulations, all of these things. So you need to be definitely prepared from the beginning and having the right products. And then definitely after this, you train your team on them and on these policies and on all of these things. And this is how you can ensure that you're providing a consistent service. Also, definitely preventive maintenance is something very important, especially during the summer here, where the extreme heat and humidities can cause a lot of damages to the apartments. So we need always to be prepared before the summer, during the summer, after the summer, after the damage happened during the summer. So all of these things are very important to provide the consistent quality that we want to do.
And I agree with you that sometimes small details have a huge impact in a client's stay. You know, like you said, you mentioned about the Wi-Fi stickers, but sometimes these little details, thinking about the guest's comfort, is what really makes a difference between an average stay and a memorable stay. You know, like those human connections are important, but every single detail along the way, it's important. Let's go and talk about technology, because when we talked about Mint Stay is a technology-enabled luxury rental company. So I would like to understand what role is technology playing within the business?
I mean, technology play an important role, as the same as any industry now. First of all, we are an online business, meaning that a lot of our guests find us online. So it is the presence of the technology, the presence of the internet, the presence of the platform like Airbnb, Booking.com, or even our own website that enable people to connect with us. And even not only guests, a lot of owners, for example, they go online, they find our properties, they like them, they read our reviews, and they come and contact us. So, and this is one of the big part of the technology enabled. The second thing, of course, is some of the services that you offer to the guest. For example, the fact that, for example, that they, as I mentioned before, they could, if they wanna check on themselves, there are like these smart locks, you know, all of these technological things that they can use. Especially, for example, if a guest is coming, let's say at 3 a.m. in the morning, and there's nobody to meet them, people will go and meet them. Our staff will go and meet them the second day. But on the first day, for example, when they come late, there is the technology. There are like, for example, certain apps that we have in the apartments that enable the guests to order food, to order certain services they want. So all of these things that make their life easy, the fact that they can communicate with us through these also technologies that we can answer them through it. So all of these things help, and they are like the typical tools that you use in any hospitality business.
What kind of channels do you use to communicate with your customers, with your guests when they're in-house throughout their stay, in order to show them that you're there, but you're not so much on them that they get a bit tired of your service?
I mean, first of all, it depends on from where the guest, or how the guest came. Is this a direct guest, or this is a guest that came through Airbnb, for example, or Booking.com? So, for example, the guest that comes through Airbnb, you'll try to communicate with them through Airbnb by sending them messages there, and they are usually quite responsive on them. The guests that came direct to you, you will communicate with them via WhatsApp, for example. We also make sure that we always have one of our senior team who will do at least one courtesy call to the guests during their stay to make sure that they are happy, that everything is going well, and that they don't have any complaint, and if they have any suggestion for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
So at least there will be one call. And then other than this, it will be the normal, like, you know, communications through either an email or WhatsApp.
So it's a kind of like, let's say, constant interactions, but on a very smooth kind of like way, right?
And what is really important as well is not only that we will do the step, but we are giving them the number of one dedicated person throughout their stay, that if they have any questions or they have any requests, they can contact this person. So they know from the beginning that there is one person with a specific name, so they know who this person is, that is designated for them. So we are not telling them, for example, this is our customer service number. If you have any issue, call this number and someone will answer you. We are telling you, for example, Chris is going to be dealing with you, or Mike is going to be dealing with you, or Rebecca is going to be dealing with you.
That's great. You know, that level of personalization, you know, like they feel that they talk to someone, you know, like not just a team or a customer, you know, like a help desk, you know, connecting them with people again is what really can make that huge impact. Rami, I would love to finish our chat with asking you some takeaways from your entrepreneurial journey so far, because let's say you've been an entrepreneur since 2016. So what would be some of the takeaways that you've learned along the way, and what are the key lessons that you could share with our audience?
I mean, to be honest with you, there are a lot of takeaways because it is a continuous learning experience. I would say entrepreneurship or the business that I'm doing now compared to my previous corporate career for almost another 15 years, that there it was more or less kind of theoretical, right? It's you're doing big deals, but you're not really facing true problems. You're not facing day-to-day problems. And I would say here, it's like every day there is a new challenge. Every day there is a new problem that you need to solve. Maybe the impact of these or let's say the impact of these problems or these issues is not as big as during the corporate world. For example, corporate world, when you're in private equity, you're doing a deal for a couple of $1 billion where there are serious money here. Here we are speaking more about one guest who's staying in your apartment. It's a smaller thing, and their concern might be something small, not big. But it's really what shape your personality is these small interactions, because they are true interaction and they really change your personality. They, in terms of a lot of the soft skills, like for example, patience, for example, this is something that you learn in this business, because if you're not patient, you run into problems because there are always issues and you need always to be patient. You need always to smile to the guests. You need always to, even if you're having a bad day, this is not the problem. So you cannot show them that you're having a bad day. So there are a lot of things that affect your personality on a day-to-day basis that are not sometimes present in the big corporate world. So I would say these are some of the most things that really shape you as an entrepreneur and change you. A lot of the soft things, a lot of things on your personality, and they change through time. Like, I mean, it's not overnight, but you feel you're getting better at them. You're getting better at dealing with people. You're getting better in controlling yourself. You're getting better in being more patient, in being more, proactive. All of these things. So these are a lot of the things you learn. So entrepreneurship really help you to change as a person and be more people person as well, especially if you are in the service industry. Like, I mean, maybe some of the technology business where they don't interact with people is a bit different. There, the challenges are more different. It's more about maybe scaling the business, making it profitable, things like this. But in our business, I would say you become better in dealing and interacting with people, which is, I would think, the most important thing in life, right?
Absolutely. And I think that when you're passionate about what you're doing, especially when you start your own business, at the beginning you wear like different hats, the sales hat, the accountant hat, like the marketing hat, because you don't have such a team, to do all these tasks or to delegate. So you kind of like a one business, like a one person business. As you grow, you develop some other skills of leadership, because you need to, to guide the team towards a direction, like a vision that you might have. So I absolutely agree that, a good takeaway from what you just shared right now is like a constant learning, like every phase has its own learning and takeaways. But I think that being an entrepreneur is something that it's either you keep improving or innovating or learning, or you get stuck and you quickly go out of business because other businesses, competition, or just the society in general will just run over you, So absolutely agree with that message.
I was going to add one point. Yeah, something also very important thing that you also touched on very quickly was, as the company grow or as your business grow, because generally entrepreneurs will start small and then they get bigger. You as a person or as a manager or as a leader of the business, you need to change your priorities. So for example, at the beginning, you need to be involved in every aspect of the business, because as you said, you don't have a lot of employees. You need to be very disciplined, the time management, because you do a lot of these things to perfect the product and to understand your industry very well. But then as the business grow, and this is where a lot of entrepreneurs face as a challenge, that you need to let go. And you cannot control the things as before. You cannot control the entire business. You cannot know everything happening in your business, because if you do this, you're not going to grow. You're going to remain as a small business. So definitely one of the most important challenges that entrepreneurs face, that as their business grow, they need to change their hat. And they need to become more comfortable with letting go things that they were more possessive for before.
Agree. In that growth period, when the growth period comes, I think you need to learn how to delegate, because you cannot be doing everything as you used to, because the business is growing. So it's again, part of the process. But and again is learning new skills, and new skills is how to delegate, how to trust people, as you said, like giving them the trust that you, as the founder of that once was a little baby and now it's a big company, you trust them with your baby on their own judgment to do the best for what is best for the business and what is best for the client. So absolutely agree, that kind of part of the learning.
Right.
Rami, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, sharing some of the things that you do on a daily basis, to provide the best guest experience to your clients. I think it's the hospitality business, as we always say, it's often like a benchmark industry, because it's actually all about the experience, what makes the difference in this industry. So getting insights from entrepreneurs in this industry, it's very valuable. So really appreciate. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time, Miriam, and thank you for hosting me.
And thank you all for staying with us, either if you're watching or listening, and see you on the next episode.